Punch and Jewelee are DC's Bonnie and Clyde, but they didn't even start off as DC characters. Instead, they were Charlton characters, which was the same comic book company that created Blue Beetle, The Question, Nightshade, Captain Atom, and Peacemaker. All of them would inspire Watchmen, specifically Nite Owl, Rorschach, Silk Spectre, Dr. Manhattan, and the Comedian. Punch and Jewelee, or Clyde Philips, and, well, Jewelee actually never got a name, but I would presume it'd be Bonnie something, would debut in Captain Atom issue 85 from 1967. Well, the characters didn't have much told about them yet, other than that they were a married couple who were villains of Captain Atom and Nightshade, to be, in a way, their Joker. With the whole "we're the same, you and I," because both were couples. They would have jester themes, with Punch normally having some inspiration from puppeteers, while Jewelee had some more basis of a marionette clown. They would steal information from these scientists to try to sell to the black market. What was the info about? We don't actually know. But they would be stopped by Captain Atom and Nightshade. Punch and Jewelee would have this origin. They grew up in Brooklyn when they met each other. They would end up becoming puppeteers. And one day, while walking on the beach, the two would come across some jewels, which were powerful gems. And the two become the villains Punch and Jewelee. It's not exactly the strongest origin. They wouldn't have many stories. This was likely because while they were at Charlton Comics, they only appeared twice, with Captain Atom comic being cancelled only 4 issues after their first appearance, as well as them appearing in the comic's final issue. Despite the fact that Charlton Comics did exist for 16 more years, they wouldn't appear throughout any of it. But in 1983, Charlton would be bought by DC Comics. And in 1985, Crisis on Infinite Earths would happen, where it would be said that all the Charlton stuff went down on Earth 4. And in issue 9, Punch and Jewelee would appear as a part of a group of villains from the 5 worlds remaining, even making it on the cover with other villains, who I'm not naming all of them because there's just too many. Okay, fine, I'll do it. Star Sapphire, Joker, Lex Luthor, Cheetah, Gizmo, Poison Ivy, Solomon Grundy, Dr. Sivana, Sinestro, Captain Cold, Dr. Polaris, Blockbuster, Eclipso, Captain Nazi, Gorilla Grodd, Silver Ghost, Killer Frost, Black Adam, Per Degaton, Penguin, Trickster, Lightning Lord, Brainiac, Chemo, Mirror Master, Destro, Copperhead, and Silver Swan. Yes, there are other characters on the cover, but I can't tell who they are. Also, after Crisis, there will be a change to their characters, that being that they aren't Captain Atom villains anymore. This was likely done because Captain Atom wasn't exactly around anymore. Instead, we got a new version, that being Nathaniel Adams, who is the Captain Atom most people know about, but not the original. So instead, they were now King Faraday villains, whoever the hell that is. I'm kidding, I know who he is, but I don't really know anything about him. But luckily, I don't have to because it was a passing by statement. The two would join the Suicide Squad after being approached by Amanda Waller. They would be part of the team that Bronze Tiger led to Apocalypse during that arc. While not doing much while they were there, they did get to survive. Jewelee seemed to be the one chosen between the two that was more popular, with her appearing sometimes in the background without Punch. And in Harley Quinn issue 3 from 2001, she would go to an all-female villain party, where she would get drunk and admit she was once in an abusive relationship, where she got out of it by killing the man who hurt her. This was compared to Harley and Joker's relationship. Jewelee would also fall pregnant of Punch's kid, and would want to retire only for Punch not wanting to. And while we don't see what happened or what went down, it is implied that Punch convinced her to stay a villain. Which brings up the question about what the two want, with it clearly being different things. The kid is also never mentioned to have what happened to him, but I presume it could be assumed that they give it up for adoption, or something happened during the pregnancy, because if they were parents, I feel as if that would probably be mentioned. The couple also briefly appeared in the Underworld Unleashed storyline where Neron was giving random people powers and taking their souls. He tried to make a deal with Jewelee and Punch, but they declined, which was smart of them. Jewelee, like I said, would become the more popular one, with the two end up joining Mirror Master's X-Squad team, which was filled with X-Squad members. And while fighting soldiers, the member Tattoo Man would actually betray them, resulting in Punch being killed. Jewelee would end up killing Tattooed Man in revenge. And from here, the character was on her own. We see how she broke down by her husband's death, making it clear that she actually very much loved him. Jewelee would end up on Planet Salvation, when all the villains were teleported there, where she would join Joker's villain group, where she seems to have a personal connection to the Joker, possibly reminding her of either Punch or her old abusive ex. She would also be one of the villains who actually survive, with us viewing the character as potentially being someone that is not only going to stay around but had promise. When you separate her from her husband, it allows her character to shine, which would result in her character, in my opinion, becoming a stronger character than him. After the Flashpoint event and the New 52, she wouldn't appear, but would return in Rebirth, where she would come back with her retconned alive husband, Punch. Now the characters are shown to be Batman villains, as well as being far more brutal. But we do see more of their love up front, with it being obvious how the two love each other. Instead of Punch dying, it was said that he went missing, which made Jewelee feel broken inside, missing him. But he would end up being on Santa Prisca, and after a fight with Bane, they would be believed to be dead. But were actually playing dead, and when they got their bodies dragged away, they revealed that they were very much still alive, creating some problems for the Dark Knight. But they would be defeated and taken to Arkham afterwards by Batman. It is an odd choice to me that they would be turned into Batman villains. Batman has a very strong rogues gallery, while Punch and Jewelee didn't really have a hero to fight. So giving them to Batman is, in my opinion, an odd choice. I think they should have been used for a hero that needed some more villains, and Batman definitely doesn't need more. The characters would also go on to inspire the villains Mime and Marionette and Doomsday Clock, or technically anti-heroes, as a reference to how the original concept of Watchmen comics were to base them on Charlton comic book characters. They even borrow the pregnancy plot. However, these characters are not actually Jewelee and Punch, so I won't really go into their origin or history or what they've been doing in comics recently. Which isn't much. They haven't really been seen since Doomsday Clock, which is unfortunate because I thought they were both pretty cool characters. The characters would also appear in Batman the Brave and the Bold, where they're shown to be the little threats that Batman fights after they rob a bank, only be interrupted by Booster Gold. They actually appear in a few episodes on the show, but typically they're in the background, only being up in front in one episode, where all they really do is rob a bank. Likely kind of a reference to the Bonnie and Clyde motif. And they would appear on the first team in the Suicide Squad Hell to Pay movie, along with Deadshot and Count Vertigo, only for the reveal that Jewelee and Count Vertigo were traitors of Amanda Waller. And Jewelee herself would this time kill Punch, revealing that she never did love him, and instead loved Count Vertigo. So even here, Jewelee very clearly is the one that is in favor. But after being revealed as a traitor, Waller blew up Count Vertigo's head, while Jewelee was shot by Deadshot. She really was shot dead. Sorry, that was a stupid joke. Jewelee and Punch are very underrated characters in my opinion, especially Jewelee. Her whole arc about her having to deal with her dead husband having passed was, in my opinion, a very strong one, which unfortunately didn't get to continue because of New 52. But they also have some weaknesses in my opinion. For example, they don't really have a strong origin, or at least not Punch. Because Jewelee having an abusive ex that she killed, I think, is a very strong one, but they didn't really use it as her origin, but more as something that happened before her origin. Another thing that I think is a flaw for the characters is the fact that they don't really have a understandable ability. You see, I haven't really mentioned it, but they sometimes use technology with those gems that they found on the beach. And the reason why I haven't mentioned it is because sometimes that isn't important. In fact, it hardly ever is. And their other flaw is, in my opinion, they don't really have a strong baseline of who they're fighting. Because they're villains, but villains to who? They went from Captain Atom to King Faraday to Batman. None of which, in my opinion, really worked. They were the strongest, in my opinion, when they were part of the Suicide Squad, or part of the X-Men of the Suicide Squad, or when Jewelee was a part of that whole Salvation Group run. But I think they very much can work as villains to a hero, not just random villains who you see occasionally. The hero or heroes I have in mind are Green Arrow or The Flash. I think Jewelee and Punch could work very well with both those characters. I could see them even working for Nightwing. But that's it. Personally, I think Jewelee and Punch should return, or at least Jewelee should return. But I do like the fact that they're villains who are dating, and then to get married. Because I have to admit, they do have some pretty cute moments. Even if it ends with, Punch dying. But that's it. Like always, please like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.